move on to the NBA now, okay? The Hawks recently had gone and beaten the Lakers, okay? Which, no surprise, the Hawks have been doing pretty good lately. But listen to these stats. LeBron James, so they lost 134 to 132 overtime game, okay? LeBron James had 39 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists, hitting 6 three-pointers. Anthony Davis had 38 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists. So almost 2 triple-doubles right there.
Yep.
And then the next best player statistical-wise on the Lakers was Gabriel Vincent with 12 points, 5 assists, and 2 steals. They still lost with 2 players almost having triple-doubles to a Hawks team with Trae Young scoring 31 points, 20 assists.
That's crazy.
That's ridiculous.
Yep.
20 assists. And then he had 3 rebounds. He was the one that ended up hitting the game-winning 3 in overtime.
Okay.
The next 2 statistical best on the Hawks was DeAndre Hunter with 26 points, 3 rebounds, 2 steals. And then Bogdanovich with 20 points, 6 rebounds, and he hit 4 three-pointers.
Which Bogdanovich?
It's the younger one.
So not the one that used to play for the Pacers?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. It's what there's
him.
Boban and then there's Bojan.
Yeah.
And something close
think
like
so.
that.
Yeah,
I don't know which one's which, but it's the younger one. He's the shooting guard one. He's not the power forward. So, I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Let's make one quick point. And I hate to make this point because you know how much I hate this man. But LeBron James, with those stats at his age, is... I gotta give it to him.
Yeah.
I mean, let's throw out the score of the game, anything else. The fact that he's, 41, 42?
42, I think.
He's scoring still almost 40 points, 10 rebounds.
Is he that old? I'm going to look it up.
He's passing the ball, so it's not like he's just going down and shooting it every single time. He's got 11 assists, and he's shooting well from beyond the arc. Now, it's not every
39.
game. So he's 39.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're the same age. I couldn't do that.
I mean, yeah, it's crazy.
It's impressive.
The one thing I will say, though, that you see a lot, especially when it comes to the NBA, is that if you want a player, if you're willing a player to have a great game, it can happen no matter how good, no matter how...
Explain what you're saying.
Because, I remember Kobe's last game. R.I.P. R.I.P. Kobe.
Well, that's different. They passed him the ball every time he went down the court.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you look at those other stats, who else did he have help from? Anthony Davis. Now, tell me something. If he and Anthony Davis were the only 2 ones that you're trying to get the ball to be successful, how would you do that as a coach? You would probably put LeBron James in and take Anthony Davis out so Anthony Davis can have a break. And while LeBron James is in, LeBron James is the dude. He's getting all the touches. He's getting all the points.
Well, makes you wonder, though, where his 11 assists were who they were to then.
Probably Anthony Davis.
That's what I'm saying.
Because there's going to be layover, of course. When they start the game, it's going to be LeBron and AD.
Right.
Probably towards the second quarter and then probably late third quarter, early fourth quarter. It's going to be a situation where they have one on the court, one not. I may be wrong, but that's just how I view a stat line like that. When you have 2 players who are obviously doing everything they can, then that means everyone else isn't doing much. You're going to continue to rely on those 2 players throughout the game.
Yeah.
But, that reminds me, like I was saying, Kobe Bryant's last game when he scored, 60, 50?
I thought he was it more than that.
Well, it wasn't more than 60. Because I think, it might have been 50. Because I remember Shaq said a quote that was
Scored 60.
Scored 60, okay. Because Shaq said he told him to go out and score 50, and he's like, the mother effers went out and scored 60 on me. But, in that game, like you already said, they were passing him the ball. He had every opportunity to get to that point. And Kobe Bryant obviously was not in the prime of his career, even in that game. I mean, when you watched it, he was hitting some great shots. Yep. It made you feel like it almost reminded me of Mike Tyson getting back in the ring with Jake Paul. It's like, oh, man, any swing, he can knock him out.
But he actually produced.
Yeah, exactly. Unlike Mike Tyson. But basketball is obviously different from fighting. But that just, like I was saying before, LeBron James, obviously you can't deny greatness. Getting a triple-double at 39 years old, I'm not trying to take anything away from LeBron. But if he is 39 years old, if he has Anthony Davis also getting a triple-double, and he is still putting up those type of numbers and they're losing, I would rather, just like every player that scores great statistics. We see it all the time. People scoring 50 points, scoring 60 points, and they still lose at the end of the game.
Right.
Would you rather have that great performance, or would you rather distribute the ball, get other people involved, and come out with a win?
Well, could it be a question, too, though, that he feels like he has to do that to keep themselves in a game? Because maybe other people aren't producing. You got Connect on your team, which he's young. He's, trying to get up there. I don't know how well he did in that game, but I mean, you got to give them a chance to produce. But at some point, I mean, this is my own fault, but at some point, I say the same thing. Well, I'm just going to do it myself because then I know I'm getting it done. And maybe he's the same way.
I don't think that's a way to win, man. There's no I in team.
Well, who else is on their team? Maybe they need to go after somebody that can help them out.
Let's get to that. That was kind of what I was going to start hinting at. So the Lakers are 8th in the West. They're 13-11. Now the trade deadline, it's a little far away, which we're going to get in some trade rumors here in a little bit. But with the Lakers, I mean, what do they need to improve? I think they need somebody on that team. Yeah. Now, what value do they have to give away? They have Austin Reeves. Yeah. He's a good player.
He was great last year. I don't know how well he's doing this year.
Well, I mean, the Lakers are 13-11. I don't think that anyone besides the main two have been doing too great. Besides, Dalton Connect, he's a young rookie. Yeah. He's in the running for Rookie of the Year. He's doing great. You also have D'Angelo Russell. You also have Hachimura.
Yeah, Hachimura should be your first option in that choice, I think, because he's almost like a Mathurin to where he has his hit and miss. Mathurin's doing really well this year, but Hachimura was kind of the same way to where you got to give him some time, but he's not consistent, but he's good enough to where he could add some value to a different team.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to move at least one of those players. I would stay away from moving Dalton Connect. Obviously, he's still a rookie.
I agree.
But Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, and Hachimura, I think,
I don't know what you're going to get out of them. That's the other question.
You got to get somebody. I mean, their contracts are fat to where they can get someone who has another fat contract somewhere. Yeah. Maybe they try to go after. Maybe they try to go after like a Paul George for the Sixers. The Sixers haven't been doing good. But I know they just signed him on a fat deal, but the cap space would even out because Hachimura, I believe, has a 4-year, $70-80 million or something like that. D'Angelo Russell has like a 1-year, $20 million, something around that. So
it'd probably be easier to move on from if he's got a 1-year contract.
Yeah, which I believe, didn't they trade him away? He got drafted to the Lakers. They traded him away. He went through a circuit of different teams, and then they brought him back in. And I mean, he's still not producing as much, obviously, as they would want out of him. So I'm not sure, but Lakers are gonna have to do something. Yep. I think they have to do something as far as their roster.
Yeah, then give it to JJ Redick. He walked into a mess, and hopefully, I've always liked him as a player, liked him as a person. So hopefully, he can pull something together. Because I think this is his first coaching job.
Yeah, it's a tough job, too. I mean, who would volunteer for their first coaching job to coach LeBron James?
Yeah, such an ego-driven maniac that, it'd be hard to... He is.
You got a hater over here.
Yeah. You should know that by now.
Let's get into our next topic, okay? So the Mavs just beat the Grizzlies, 121-116. Now
both
check this. Yeah. Check this. Mavs were trailing the Grizzlies by 12 with 8 minutes, 34 seconds left in the fourth. But the Mavs finished the game on a 27-10 run. Luka Doncic ended the game 37 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, shooting over 50% field goal range.
That's pretty good.
And so the final stat I just want to point out is Ja Morant, who was drafted in 2019. They're both the same age. They're both 25 years old. Ja Morant drafted in 2019. Luka was drafted in 2018. Ja Morant is 1-7 when facing Luka.
Why?
That's the question, isn't it?
I asked you. Give me an answer.
Well, obviously, the entire team has to be involved here.
Right.
I think the real question to ask here is, will Ja ever be able to either form a team or, do something to where he can get past Luka to get a ring? Because as long as he stays over there with the Grizzlies and Luka is over with the Mavs, that stat tells me he's going to have to do something.
Well, Grizzlies aren't a bad team. We'll throw that out there. We've talked about them before. I think they're at 14-7 right now. They've got a pretty solid record. They just added Edey to that. I think he's been producing pretty well. Hopefully he just continues to get better. I think they just need to keep adding pieces to that team. I hope he sticks around so he doesn't look like a team hopper like kind of some of these other players are.
Everyone is nowadays.
And then he just tries to build something there. I mean, obviously the team is stuck with him through his own egghead decisions that he's had here recently, or at least last year, whatever it was. But I don't know. I mean, it's not even that the Mavericks are that much better of a team than they are. I don't think. I think that just for whatever reason, it's kind of like the Steelers-Ravens. They have their number.
Well, I mean, let's keep in mind that the Mavericks did make it all the way last year. And so they are a great team. Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, and then the Twin Towers in the middle.
They did get swept.
Yeah, but they made it out of a gauntlet of West teams that were fighting. Now, I will say, in my opinion, I think that the Timberwolves were the ones who were taking on the heavyweight champs over in the West early on. But the Mavericks made it all the way, and ultimately the Mavericks ended up, making it to the championship, take on a stacked Celtics team. I mean, consensus idea here was the Celtics were supposed to win.
Right.
If they would have even dropped 2 games in the finals, that's a failure of a year. They should have been sweeping teams.
Then they went 8 in a row. Because they beat the Pacers 4 games in a row. Then they beat,
Well, I believe, didn't they sweep the teams leading up to that too?
I think they might have lost one. Keep talking, I'll look at it.
Well, I mean, the Mavs are a stacked team, and so I think they're only getting better. Obviously, Luka, he's not going to decide to leave the Mavs. He shouldn't. He should be with the Mavs for a majority of his career. He's already seeing so much success there. But other than that, they're a young team. I mean, they got Derek Lively, who's a very young player. I think he's like 20 years old, and he's still upcoming. He's a great player. You got Kyrie Irving, who, I mean, he's not young, but he's not necessarily old. He's a guard. I think that guards probably have a little bit more longevity in the NBA, but I think he's only like 30, 31, something like that.
So they beat the Hawks 4-2. They beat the 76ers 4-3. Then they beat the Heat 4-3. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Keep going.
I was about to say, right. that is not right at all.
Is this 2020? Oh, I'm in 2023. That's the problem.
Yeah. The playoffs are early 2024.
Never mind. We'll cut that out.
But they're a stacked team for sure. And I think that, Ja Morant, they are young themselves. They already have a lot of cap space divvied out to a lot of their players. But he's going to have to figure something out. He's going to have to figure something out as far as the team's concerned, adding another piece, or, maybe, I don't want to say it, maybe he does travel to a different team. Who knows? I mean, once his contract's up, he hasn't really proven much himself being on that team. What are his accolades? What has he won with that team? What has he done?
You could shop him and probably get some good stuff out of him.
Yeah, you could get something. You can get, a pick, or maybe you could find another player on the trade market that can immediately contribute to that team. But
the Celtics went 4-1 against the Heat, and then they went 4-1 against the Cavs, which that might be different this year considering how well they're playing. 4-0 against the Pacers, and then looks like 4-1 against the Mavs. So they did lose one.
So they had a relatively... And here's the thing. I believe in that entire... I mean, you said they faced Heat first.
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler was hurt that entire series. They faced the Cavs. Donovan Mitchell was hurt that entire series. And then they go on to face the Pacers. And then Tyrese Halliburton was hurt that entire series.
Yep. Or at least part of it. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was out all 4 games. Or 5 games. So it was kind of an easy path. That's why whenever they got to the championship, they were well rested. They had all of their players. I think the only person that was hurt with them was Porzingis. And so everyone, like I said, consensus idea was that they should be winning this. If they drop if it was a competitive series, that would have been an L. So But talking about the Mavs and, talking about Lakers with the trade talks and stuff, let's talk about Jimmy Butler. So there's rumors going around right now. I don't know how accurate they are because, the Heat themselves with Eric Spoelstra and Tyler Hero, they're kind of trying to direct away some of these trade rumor talks, it seems like. But
naturally, that makes sense.
But Jimmy Butler may be on the market. He may be currently being shopped around right now. He has a fat 1-year contract, and there's a lot of teams that could use him.
What is his contract?
I believe it's a 1 year, like $48 million, $42 million, something like that. So the two teams that are looking at him right now, the Warriors are actively looking for a superstar to add. So if he's on the trade block, the Warriors are looking at him. And then possibly the Mavs. Now that's more Jimmy Butler wants to go to a team that he thinks can win. And so he's eyeing the Mavs. But those are the two teams that could potentially get him. The Warriors, like I said, they're looking for any superstar. Another player who's on the rumor mill with them is Brandon Ingram. But I think that, in my personal opinion here, it's really a question of should Jimmy Butler go to a contender that is aging and on its way out the door just like him. Like, it's kind of like the last hurrah of the 34-year-olds. Let's get another championship. Or should he go to a Mavs team with a Luka Doncic, with a Derek Lively, and then also one older vet with Kyrie Irving. But that's kind of, like we just said, they made it to the championship last year. They could very likely do it again this year.
He's an interesting piece. He's still effective. He's still playing good basketball. He's somewhat staying healthy. I'm trying to think of from his mindset where he would want to go. Clearly he wants a ring. So, yeah. He thinks he's going to go to the best location where he thinks he's going to be able to get one. I don't think the Warriors are going to be that. I think they're a good team, but I don't see them as winning a championship as of right now. You've got several teams, I think, that are a little bit on the higher up that would follow through, and the Mavericks might be that. Could they go back to another championship? So, in my opinion, I would say that's the direction he should go.
Go with the Mavs?
I think so.
Interesting. Obviously, there's the question of, you're talking about what they're looking like right now, but obviously they would have to give something up to get Jimmy Butler, and then what would Jimmy Butler, how would he fit with them coming in there?
Right.
And, it is a tough question for sure. I think when it comes to the Warriors, they have a strong brand of defense already with Draymond Green. They lost Klay Thompson, who was a good perimeter defender. That's kind of the hole that they need to be filled right now. You still have Steph Curry out there scoring ridiculously. And I also think, they have Andrew Wiggins who can still consistently score. But if you add like a Jimmy is someone who could be on the court when Steph's taking a break, when Draymond's taking a break, and he can still try to consistently keep that scoring going.
Yeah.
And so I think that would fit very well as far as the whole game is concerned. When it comes to the Mavericks, I think, you already have Luka. Luka's going to score. That's what he does. When he's on the court, he's getting the ball, he's shooting the shots, he's driving the lane and passing it out. And when he's not on the court, they already have it set up to where Kyrie Irving is the dude. And, but when it comes between Jimmy Buckets and Kyrie Irving, I'm giving Irving the ball to go get a bucket.
Yeah.
So the way they would utilize Jimmy Butler, in my opinion, would be more of a utility player rather than a isolation and score type of player that the Warriors might use him as.
But where does he better have a chance to win the championship? That's the question.
Well, like I said, I think it would just depend on what that team's giving up to get him. Because, let's say, for instance, the Mavericks do try to shop around, and the Heat are like, okay, we'll take him, but you have to give us both Derek Lively and, I don't really know who else they have on their team that would be of value. Maybe like a Gafford or something. Yeah. But because they're losing those players, are they going to be the same team? Are they still going to have the interior force? When it comes to the Warriors, maybe they're like, okay, you have to give us Andrew Wiggins or you have to give us Draymond, which I don't think they would allow them to touch Draymond or Steph, really. Yeah. Just like the Mavericks wouldn't allow them to touch Kyrie and Luka. So that's kind of what I'm basing on, just the core people right there. But those role players, in my opinion, the Mavericks have better role players, it would be more enticing for the Heat to make a deal with them. But will losing those role players impact the team? So when it comes down to who has a better chance of getting a ring, I mean, I would probably still stick with the Mavericks just because we are in a scoring league and they can probably outscore the Warriors. But if you can pair up Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler with the defensive edge, and then you still have the greatest scorer to ever play the game in Steph Curry, I guess I should say greatest shooter, not scorer.
Yeah.
The greatest shooter with Steph Curry, I mean, that could be a much more well-balanced attack. Yeah. So, obviously, I don't know. I can't see into the future. I don't know who's going to be closer to getting a ring this year. I do think that, I'm not saying this is how he's thinking, but Luka Doncic is 25 years old. Kyrie still has a couple more years in the league. They may be at a point where it's like, okay, if we lose this year again, we have another shot next year. I think if you go to the Warriors, Steph Curry and Draymond are already knocking on the door of retirement.
Right.
Like, they can retire any moment. I think them getting a Jimmy Butler on their squad could be like a revitalizing thing. Like, okay, this is it. This is it. We thought it was it last year with Klay Thompson. He obviously wasn't doing it for us. We had to get rid of him. And that's the other player that the Mavericks have. They have Klay Thompson. And so, I mean, it's tough. It's tough. I think the Mavericks, completely forgot about Klay Thompson going over there. They already made their move to improve their team. If Jimmy Butler, that's one thing, though. Like, how would he fit in with that? Would you have him play the 4? You have Luka at the 1, Kyrie at the 2, Klay Thompson at the 3, and then you would have Jimmy Butler at the 4, and then one of their centers. I mean, I'm not sure. It's an interesting question, though. I'm very intrigued to see if they actually do shop him around and where he'll go. The final thing I'd like to say on this is Jimmy Butler is from Houston, Texas. So he's closer to his hometown if he does go to the Mavericks.
Yep. I could see him. He'll never do it. But could he go to the Pacers and be
I don't
productive?
think they have the money to pay.
They don't, and he would never do it because it's a small market. But he actually might fit in really well with that team, to be honest. He's got to be quick and mobile, and that's going to wear on him pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, you do have Ben Mathurin at the 3 right now. You do have, Pascal Siakam at the 4. So how would he fit in?
Well, they keep talking about moving on from Turner. So if Turner was gone,
I feel like they've been talking about that for 5 years now.
And they always say he's going to go to the Lakers, and then it never happens. So who knows?